What's good, guys? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at the top 25 Nintendo Switch games, my 2023 update. We did one of these last year, but it was only the top 10, and people talked about how there were so many other games that weren't on the top 10, so I decided to expand it to my top 25. But there will be some games that are probably your favorite that are left out. Now, I do want to go over just a few ground rules real quick. I am adding in some franchise games like Xenoblade or like Bayonetta or titles like that that have multiple entries, so all of those games don't fill out my whole top 25. So rest assured, the list here is going to be really varied and have a lot of different franchises. And I think that you guys are going to really like it. Now, before we get into it, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're starting off at number 25, and that is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope plus Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Now, these games are absolutely incredible. They're like XCOM style Mario games, tactics, strategy, RPG, with these stupid Rabbids in there as well, which they can be pretty entertaining at times. Now, the thing that makes Mario plus Rabbids so fun is just the battles. The battles are just incredible. The upgrading is really good. It's a sound tactical experience that lets you do a variety of different strategies in order to execute what you need to do and your objectives on screen. Sparks of Hope adds in a lot of exploration with the environment. That's really cool. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle has an incredible, I would just say, setup and shock value when you first saw that crossover. It's a funny type of game. It's got a solid story, nothing that's going to win any type of narrative of the year, but still incredibly well done. So that's why it's at number 25 on the list. Number 24, Celeste. Now, this is a game that actually took me a little bit of time to get into just because, I don't know, I just wasn't really into it at first with the aesthetic and the story and everything. But the more that I actually gave it a chance and played it, the more and more I liked the game. It's really well done. The platforming is super tight. The controls are spot on. Pretty much whenever you mess up in this game, it's really your fault. It's kind of like the Super Meat Boy of this generation, where you just have that pixel perfect type of platformer that really adds in a new layer and depth and dimensions into this type of platforming genre. And Celeste is one of those games that also has a heartwarming and interesting story as well, which I think it has an advantage over some of the other games in its same class. So Celeste is a beautiful game. It's got fantastic music, great graphics, really interesting story, and I think that if you give it a chance, get past that first kind of like growing pains with the game, it'll really grow on you and be one of your favorite games on the Nintendo Switch. Number 23, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, this is the first time that I've actually played an Animal Crossing game more than, like, let's say about 30 to 40 hours. I put a lot of hours into this one, and I think it's because of the terraforming and the structure. They have the online play that's better. There was a lot of things that Animal Crossing New Horizons did really well. Now, the content updates and all that necessarily weren't great for people that have played previous games, but I was never really into the previous games just for one reason or another. But this game actually drew me in with all the different customization that you can do and the options, and it became easily my most played Animal Crossing game of all time. It's very well done. The graphics are clean. I think that there's a lot of great things about this game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the next Animal Crossing in the next 8 to 9 years. Number 22, Pikmin 4. Now, Pikmin 4 recently came out, and I've been playing a ton of it, and it's absolutely one of the best Nintendo Switch games. And I think that this Pikmin game over the previous one feels far more gamey in terms of them adding elements to increase things. Not just saying, hey, here's some more Pikmin that you can have, like rock Pikmin or this type of Pikmin or ice Pikmin, but actually adding new elements to upgrade, new elements with the dog, Ochi. That was incredible and just makes the game right off the back more approachable, to where you can run around on a dog, you can get tasks done differently, you can upgrade your dog, you can do different things that just make it feel more like a game. You have a variety of different people to talk to. It's not so isolated. You have your home base. There's a whole different style of gameplay in the night levels. The boss battles are really good. The collection aspects are solid. The story is good as well. And goodness gracious, there's some great content after you beat the game as well. So to me, Pikmin 4 is by far the best Pikmin game and easily one of the best Nintendo Switch games, which puts it right at number 22 on my list. 21, Hollow Knight. Now, Hollow Knight is a game that came out very early in the Nintendo Switch's life, but rest assured, it's easily one of the best titles pixel perfect 2D platforming Metroidvania perfection. This is probably, outside of Castlevania, the best Metroidvania game out there, along with another game that we're going to talk about soon. But Hollow Knight really nails the atmosphere, it nails the non-hand-holding, it nails the combat, and it nails the features. It nails the complete context in terms of what they're trying to do within the story, setting, and world. It's such an interesting game and visually pleasing game, very clean. Whenever you hit somebody, the hit detection, the jumping, everything feels so pinpoint and accurate. It's got great content. There's a lot of value here for a very low amount of price. They've got digital and physical. Hollow Knight is the full package, which is exactly the reason why people have been so crazy about Silksong, and it's taken pretty much all generation, still to this point, not out yet. So if you haven't played Hollow Knight, play Hollow Knight. It is absolutely incredible and deserving of the 21st spot on the list. Number 20, Splatoon 3. You got to go with the tried and true when it comes down to it, and you could add in Splatoon 2 in there, but Splatoon 3 is so much better than Splatoon 2 in pretty much every single way with my experience. I know some people talk about the online not being as good, but I found that the online is actually better for me, especially with all of the updates that have came out. The multiplayer and getting together with lobbies is just 10 times better with how they've done the spectating versus who plays and how it's random, how you pick things, the way that you're able to switch guns and stuff in between. They've added so many layers and elements to the game. It just kind of blows Splatoon 2 out of the water. On top of that, it's got a better base single player experience as well. It's got improved graphics. The music is really good. The Splatfest stuff is good. The quality of life features are good. Your home locker stuff is good. They got the Splatoon mini games in there as well. So to me, Splatoon 3 is absolutely one of the best games and my favorite multiplayer experience on the Nintendo Switch, hands down. I think the multiplayer is fantastic and will continue to get better and better as they add new things in, new weapons, new features. It really just makes me say there's no need for me to actually play any of the live service games out there when this game does all of that without all the microtransactions and all the stuff that they try to push down your throat with a lot of other shooters. So Splatoon 3, absolutely one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch, and number 20 on my list. Number 19, Ori and the Will of the Wisp plus Ori and the Blind Forest. Once again, didn't want to take up a bunch of spots with multiple games, but the Ori games are absolutely incredible. Now, I talked about Hollow Knight and how great of a Metroidvania that is. Ori and the Will of the Wisp arguably is better in many respects. Obviously, the graphics in terms of what they're doing there are very interesting. The dynamic between the characters are very interesting. I think that the upgrades are really well done. The music is fantastic. It's a very emotional story, a bit more, I would say, sad, but also can be very charming and heartwarming as well. Some things that Hollow Knight doesn't quite have at all times. So I think that's what kind of endeared me to Ori and the Will of the Wisp and Ori and the Blind Forest, but especially the Will of the Wisp. That game is just incredibly well done and a phenomenal port. Some people felt that it wouldn't be able to be as good as it was on the Xbox, on the Nintendo Switch, but I do think that yes, you don't get the resolution, but the frame rate is all there and you get the portable play. These Metroidvania games are great to take and go just because they have some hard elements to them or stuff that you want to replay, and Ori and the Will of the Wisp with the double pack or bind them individually, you can't really go wrong with that just because of all the solid gameplay, all the great moments, all the really cool upgrades and abilities that you get. It's a phenomenal game with a great story and really just a tight package overall when it comes to the platforming and the movement and the combat. It just works. Ori and the Will of the Wisp easily makes it to number 19 on my list. Number 18, Chained Echoes. Now, this was a indie RPG darling that busted out of nowhere after a very long development period. I think over a half-decade development period, and they finally got the game out. It was made by pretty much one dude, and goodness gracious, did he show up a lot of people in the RPG space. Chained Echoes, easily one of my best viewed videos of last year, but also one of the best RPGs that I've played on the Nintendo Switch system. It's got a great story, it's got charming visuals, it's got good music, it's got a lot of content in there. It's a game that you can sit back and play and even replay afterwards, but I think the dynamics between the mechs that you can use and also the on-ground combat and how the battle system works, it's probably one of the more innovative RPGs out there, especially in the indie game space, where innovation is king for a lot of these games. So Chained Echoes was a game that surprised me. It's a game that's still incredibly good, and 10 years from now, this is gonna be one of those cult hits that people go back and say, oh, remember that game on the Nintendo Switch, Chained Echoes? Oh, it was such a great title. So that's why I had to put it at number 18 on my list. Number 17, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Once again, you can't go wrong with the tried and true, but this is a little bit more than that. Kirby busts out of his shell with this one because this is the first fully 3D Kirby game in HD that I feel is just so much better than pretty much everything that I played from Kirby, especially the 3D games. Now, don't get me wrong, they were okay, but I think that the technology and the level design and everything finally caught up because Kirby still has all these cool abilities, a bunch of new ones, but it's never looked and ran better than what they do right here. Now, it's a 30 frames per second game, which is a little bit of a bummer. You'd like 60 frames, but it doesn't feel that way. Kirby is so responsive, and that's the thing that caught me off guard. I'm thinking, okay, 30 for a platformer? You want that like at 60, like Super Mario Odyssey or something, but this game has incredible response timing. As soon as you press the button, Kirby does something. As soon as you go for that hit, Kirby does it. You never feel like the frame rate is getting in the way. You never feel like the input delay has caused a problem, and that's what shocked me about this game compared to other platformers at 30 frames per second. So the game just feels super responsive. It's got great level design. It's got a lot of intriguing levels, a lot of secrets, a lot of replay value, a lot of great structure and design. The music is great. Man, there are so many phenomenal things about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and it's my favorite Kirby game by a large margin. I haven't liked Kirby this much probably since the Triple Deluxe days, and even before that, since the Super Nintendo days. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land has earned its number 17 spot on the list. Number 16. Hades. Oh my gosh, once again, another surprise for me because I don't like rogue games where you have to start all over each time, but this was the rogue game to break me out of my I hate rogue games. And I still don't like rogue games for the most part, and I could have put Dead Cells on this list, but Hades to me wins out. And the reason why Hades wins out is because of the incredible story. The Greek mythology with the upgrades, the power-ups, the levels, but really that story was the driver, along with pinpoint precision controls and just incredible isometric gameplay. They really did a great job. Supergiant Games, these guys do such a phenomenal job with their titles. They have a bunch of other great games on the Switch as well, like Bastion and Transistor, but this game, Hades, to me, is absolutely their best title by a good bit as well, too. Hades just has all types of incredibleness packed into it and multiple replays. Once you get really good at the game, you're gonna want to go through again, use limiters, do different type of things. You got a bunch of different weapons, upgrades that you can attach to them. This is the game that finally did it for me. I've been looking for a rogue game that can break me past I hate rogue games. Dead Cells almost did it, but Hades really broke through to where I beat the game and I played it multiple times. It's phenomenal on the Nintendo Switch, and that's why it's number 16 on my list. Number 15, Dragon Quest XI-S, Echoes of an Elusive Age, Definitive Edition. And yes, I know, this should be higher, and this is about to piss a lot of my Dragon Quest fans off, and I'm terribly sorry about this, but I would have put it higher if the music is better. And you guys know, for those who watch my live streams, or if you see my videos, I don't like Dragon Quest music. Even with this one, with the orchestrated soundtrack, yes, it sounds a lot better than the 3DS and the PS4 vanilla version, but the music, the battle theme is just the issue that I have. But this is not about that. This is about how good Dragon Quest is and how it made into the top 15 games, because it is a phenomenal game. It's got great graphics, it's got traditional old school battle gameplay elements with some new things mixed into there. It's got a great cast of characters, it's got a lot of cool weapons that you can get, a lot of cool dual techs that you can learn with characters fighting. There is so many good things about this game, and you want to talk about content, this game got content on content. Even after you beat the game, the post-game stuff is really cool too. The side quest stuff is really good as well. This game really is just carried, in my opinion, by the battle combat system and also the story. Those are the two things that are so great, and I swear to you guys, I'd have it higher if the music was better for me. If the music was better, I'd have it higher. There's some banger tracks, don't get me wrong, but that Batman sounding, old school 60s Batman sounding music for the battle theme was just too much for me. But it's still an incredible game, and no matter where you put it on your list, it deserves to be in the top best games on the Nintendo Switch. Number 14, Octopath Traveler 2 plus Octopath Traveler. Now, these games are phenomenal, and the reason why I have it here is because of the music. The music in Octopath games are so good. It is a absolute, I would say, disgrace or sham that Octopath Traveler 1 did not win Music of the Year back in 2018, because it was just such a great soundtrack, the battle themes and everything. But Octopath 2 actually fixes so many issues that Octopath 1 had. Now, there's still some things with some of the stories intertwining and not necessarily doing a great job with that. But outside of that, everything else is super solid. The story is really good. The voice acting is really good. The combat system is evolved and way better than what they did in Octopath, and evolves the Brave and default system, more like just like the Brave system that this game has. It doesn't really have a default system, but the Brave system from Bravely Default. So they did so many great things in this game, and they did try to intertwine and link up the story a bit better than the original Octopath. But what makes this game so good is the combat and is the individual themes and the settings. Those are the type of things that really just make this game shine. The HD 2D is incredible, easily the best HD 2D looking game to date, and I think that it really brings a lot of the old school fusion of the 16-bit era along with modern end or high-end JRPGs, turn-based JRPGs, to create an experience that's really just going to blow you away once you really get into it. So Octopath Traveler 2, the Octopath franchise, absolutely one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch. Number 13, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, Octopath and Dragon Quest and some of the games that I mentioned before, RPGs, definitely have Pokemon Legends beat when it comes to technical specifications and how certain things run, but I think that Pokemon Legends Arceus is a breath of fresh air that I did not expect. Some of the things that they did in this game to innovate in the Pokemon franchise and just for RPGs in general was really well done. I love the fact that you can sneak up on Pokemon and throw your Pokeball, not even get into a battle, and that is intertwined, ingrained in the actual mechanics of the game when it comes to your Pokedex and what you're doing there. The theme and setup of the story is by far one of the best that I've played, probably since Pokemon Black and White 2. This story here and the lore and how they connect it to other Pokemon games is just awesome. I wouldn't expect that. I expect that from something like the Xenoblade team, Monolith Soft, but they actually did that here with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it leaves me incredibly excited to see how they evolve this franchise, because the combat was fantastic too. I love the speed style and the power style that they have in there. I like how you can really organize your Pokemon and bring out certain ones and fight in certain type of ways. I love the new forms that they had in there as well. They're onto something here with Pokemon Legends. A little rough around the areas, but the innovative boss battles and combat style to me really won me over. So that's why Pokemon Legends is at number 13 on my list. Number 12, Triangle Strategy. Now, this might be a little bit high for some of you guys out there, but I think that Triangle Strategy really encompasses so many great things about the strategy RPG genre. And I would say before we got games like Final Fantasy 16 that had like the active time lore, Triangle Strategy did a great job with reminding you who people were. You can pull up a button and you can see exactly who this person was, their affiliation. You can kind of get a sign if they're type of evil or if they're conniving just based off their portrait. So I think they did a great job with that. And the encampment. The encampment is great because there's so many times where there's a lot of big story elements and you're just sitting there and looking at story, but they break it up into small parts so you're just not sitting down and watching story all day. And if you are, you can go straight into your encampment. It unlocks new battles, it unlocks upgrades and different stuff that you can do, so you can kind of put in those parts that are kind of slow with the story. You can put in battles at your own pace. And remember, that encampment can be used before and after. Even while you're in a story mission, you can go into the encampment and start doing some leveling up or battle or grind or do whatever you need to do. It's a really good quality of life feature, along with some of the other quality of life features that they put in there as well. So Triangle Strategy is great in that sense. And let's just talk about the story too. The story is so good, along with the combat system that is simple, clean, and effective. With the kudos, it's gonna get you really doing all the different strategies that you need to do to take out foes as quick as possible, earn great rewards, fantastic controls, very smooth to play. It's a very good game overall, and I love the outcomes, how you really have to think about what you're going to do when it comes to the scales of conviction and enticing people to believe what you want to believe, doing certain types of missions where you have to go to one place or another, you have to do one thing or another. It's very intriguing and makes you think about every single decision that you make in the game, and that's why the game is at number 12 on my list. Number 11, Bayonetta 3 plus Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2. This is once again one of those things where I don't want a bunch of Bayonetta games listed here. I will say though that Bayonetta 2 to me might be the best game on here. It's a Wii U port to Nintendo Switch, but Bayonetta 3 adds a lot of interesting wrinkles to the mix with what you can do in the game. Now, yes, it doesn't necessarily run as good as Bayonetta 1 or Bayonetta 2, but at the same time, with all the different updates and upgrades, different stuff that they added in, I think that Bayonetta 3 is an underrated game. Plus, they also updated it a bit after launch, and people played the game without that update, which did patch up a few different things here and there, made Viola's gameplay way better. And I recently went back and played through it again, played some of the witch trials and other things that you can do, and overall the package is staggering. And you combine that with the prologue to the Bayonetta Origins game that's in there unlocked as well. There's so many dynamics to this game between the different characters that you can use, between the replay value that you had, witch trials, and everything. It's solid. It's solid and much better than it was at launch. But Bayonetta 2, the Bayonetta franchise just in general, is just so good. So to me, I think the perfect experience is probably Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 3 is a bit too ambitious at times, especially with this combat system and all of the different demons that you can summon right there on the screen and really just do some crazy damage, which is a lot of fun as well, which I do think might slow down the frame rate here and there. But overall, the level design might not quite be as sharp as Bayonetta 2, but all of the games, when you put all of them together, Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3, it's just an incredible experience. And I will say that Bayonetta 3's story to me definitely is better than Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, especially the ending of Bayonetta 3. That's what made me really say, okay, this franchise, they really have some incredible stuff happening, because I love what they did, at least with some parts of the end of the game. It was very shocking to me to see everything that happened, especially a certain battle at the end. So I'm not going to spoil it, but man, was that incredible. It was just a super cool moment in a game that already has an in-depth battle system with great weapons and abilities. Number 10, Monster Hunter Rise plus Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Once again, just like Animal Crossing, was never really into Monster Hunter too much. Would always just dabble with the games here and there, but I always felt they were just a bit too slow. They didn't move at my pace, and bam, here comes Monster Hunter Rise plus Sunbreak, and goodness gracious, they really said, all right, you want speed, you want new weapons, you want new abilities, you want more freedom, this adds it all. The gameplay is fantastic. It's responsive. You can move around with that little bug wire weapon that you have. You have your Palamute dog that you can go and run around and climb up walls and everything. They really just took a lot of the annoying stuff with Monster Hunter and the franchise and fixed it so much in Monster Hunter Rise. I love the different monsters that you can hunt. I love the different items and equipment, and the online play is flawless on the Nintendo Switch. I don't really feel any lag or anything like that, although it can happen, but there's really no input delay and lag with the online. So it's great in that respect. And the Sunbreak DLC just adds way more content. And another thing that they added that I love is that you can have the CPU actually fill in for online team members in battles, which they added that in an update. That was awesome. So Monster Hunter Rise plus Sunbreak, this is finally the Monster Hunter game that got me into Monster Hunter, and I definitely put well more than 50, 60 hours plus into the game, beating the game, and also extra stuff as well. Number 9, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and goodness gracious, this might be a little bit controversial as well, the fact that it's in the top 10, but one thing that I love about Shin Megami Tensei 5 is the brutal difficulty. The brutal difficulty is what, to me, carries so much of this game. It's got just this majestic feel to it when you know that you can just be wiped at any point. And by the way, they don't do auto-saving in the game. It was purposeful. They literally did that on purpose just to screw you over if you didn't save, or to add an extra level of tension to the battles. Because remember, if Nahabino dies, your main character dies, it's game over, even if you have other demons out there. So to me, that just added a whole other level of, I gotta be on my guard. Plus easy and normal modes, and then also modes to where if Nahabino dies, like, it doesn't happen to you. Like, there's other ways, safe plus, so you don't have to go that route, but I love that about the game. Now, some people hated the story, but not me. I love what they did with the story. You do have to do a lot of the side quests, pretty much all of the side quests, to get a lot of the major plot points, and it might not be as involved as SMT4 or other ones, but I love what they did and how the story ended up playing out, especially when you do everything in the game, and the special ending too. I also love the Demon Fusion system. The Demon Fusion and the combat is great in the game. The graphics are awesome, one of the best looking RPGs. A little bit of frame rate issues here and there in some areas, but when you're in battle, obviously it's a turn-based RPG, there's no problems there. I love all the different strategies that you can do too with the combat. That was great. Yes, a little weak in some of the storytelling aspects and atmosphere, but overall as a game, when you combine music, which is just incredible, the soundtrack is easily one of the best. You can combine that with the content, with the ending, with everything. To me, SMT5 is easily one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch. Number 8, Super Mario Odyssey. This game is pretty much perfect for the most part. I mean, there's not really anything wrong with Super Mario Odyssey unless you want to start getting into some of the extra content and how many moons there are and the repetitiveness of some of that. But I played it straight through and then went back and did some extra stuff in the game, and I had a blast. It was super snappy. The controls are incredibly responsive, the frame rate is good, the graphics are good, and it's even crazier because this game came out in the first year of the Nintendo Switch, within the first number of months, and it's still one of the best looking, best running games on the platform. It's like they did some wizardry to get this thing going as well as it is, because it just looks incredible. I love the level design too. Obviously this is more of the sandbox Mario style instead of like the go straight through Mario game, and to me I actually liked it more than Mario 64 and the other sandbox games. Super Mario Sunshine, I liked it way more than those. Not quite up to Galaxy's level, and I didn't want to put Galaxy on here because I've already played that game multiple times. It's a Wii game for the most part, but I do feel that Super Mario Odyssey to me is the best sandbox Mario game out there, and I love the Cappy stuff too. The Cappy stuff was really good. The movement in the game is really well done. You can get some really cool speed running strats and everything going. So Super Mario Odyssey to me checks all the boxes of an incredible platformer, great marquee Mario title, and I can see why it's the best selling 3D Mario of all time. It's that good. Still selling a lot to this day. Every single year they sell hundreds of thousands of copies after selling millions of copies in the first number of years. Number 7, Metroid Dread. This game is so good, I have to really think about what the problems are with the game, because I didn't hate anything. I think the only thing that I could say is that maybe it's a little bit short, and that's about it. I think I beat the game in like 14 hours or something like that, and that was actually exploring and trying to get a lot of different things. So it wasn't an extremely long game, but the quality of the game is so well done that I had to put it up to number 7 on the list. So the Emmys, how you have to have that dread aspect, that horror aspect, that was incredible. The controls blow away every single other Metroid game. It's not even close, guys. The controls are so good in the game. You never fumble around. You never have any issues. There's never any problems at all. It's just really well done in every single aspect. Now the music, not quite as good as previous Metroid games, but it more than makes up with it with the boss battles, with the extra modes, with the graphics, and with that ending, which that ending you'll remember. That is by far the best ending probably since Super Metroid. That ending is just incredible, and they do a great job of tying in and making it really feel like a hardcore Metroid game, and I love that Mercury's team was able to get that done with Nintendo. Samus has never been better in my opinion with their abilities and what you can do in the game, and the main boss with Ravenbeak and that back and forth, whew, that is incredible. Metroid Dread could have been higher on this list, but right now we're going to settle for it being at number 7. Number 6, Fire Emblem Three Houses plus Fire Emblem Engage. And once again, another little bit of a cop-out here, putting in Fire Emblem Engage, which was going to be my list, but I wanted to have more games. But mainly we're going to be talking about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Engage has incredible combat. Probably the best combat in the series is Fire Emblem Engage when it comes to quality of life and display and everything. But Fire Emblem Three Houses has an incredible, massive story that takes you through two parts when it's pre-war and the war saga and different ways that you can go. Now, not everybody loves what they did with the endings and with the stories of each game. Heck, I hate when it comes to the Black Eagles and what Edelgard did. But at the same time, I still love the fact that it invokes that type of emotion from the players. And when you can go through and you can play, whether it's the Golden Deer, whether it's the Blue Lions, whether you're going to go the church route, or whatever you want to do, there is ways for you to enjoy the game. And I love the fact they had so many different characters that you can recruit. I think the combat was solid as well. Graphics aren't quite that great. Fire Emblem Engage definitely has better graphics, but Three Houses overall is a solid game with tons of content, and I think that there's a lot of great abilities in the game and customization. The monastery, necessarily for me, didn't wear out its welcome, as I was very efficient in my tasks and getting what I needed to get done right away. So between Fire Emblem Engage and Fire Emblem Three Houses, combine them to put it at number 6 on my list. Number 5, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And kind of like Super Mario Odyssey, this is pretty much perfect outside of the online multiplayer is delay-based netcode, so the online isn't necessarily the greatest, but offline Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is so good. It's silky smooth, 60 frames per second, 1080p, looks incredible. Pretty much no bugs or glitches, has a ton of modes. I'm not a huge fan of the World of Light mode, but I love some of the extra modes they had in there, like the Squad Strike and different things that you can play there, plus the sheer amount of characters, along with the Fighters Pass characters. I mean, you've got Joker in there, you've got Terry Bogard, you've got Sora, Mega Man, Snake. It pretty much has everything. Wolf. There are so many incredible characters in there. It's hard to not have Super Smash Bros. Up on your list, just because if you want to have a great fun party fighter, you can do that. If you want to have a serious one-on-one fighting game, you can do that as well. There's enough depth and strategy in there to really work out and play and practice and try to be really good at the game as well. So to me, Smash Bros. Fits every single type of, I would say, box that you want to check for a fighting game, to be really all-encompassing, inviting for newcomers, but then also very difficult to master as well. So that's the reason why Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, with its massive roster, incredible stages, over 100 plus stages, and just thousands of tracks, when it comes down to almost 1,000 or thousands of tracks, it has to be in the top 5 for the best Nintendo Switch games of all time. Number 4, Persona 5 Royal. Now, Persona 5 Royal is so good. I actually thought about putting it higher on my list. Now, I already played it multiple times before it came to the Switch, but the added element of being able to play the game anywhere that you want, to me, with Persona, especially with how Mementos works, that makes it a better game than being stuck in front of a TV and playing it that way, or trying to stream it to a Vita, or doing some type of weird type of way or something. Having it right there to where you can play it anywhere that you want boosted it up into the top 5 for me, and the game is already incredibly good. It's got a great story, fantastic graphics, some of the best music that you will listen to in a video game. Hands down, the music is incredible, and it's got a lot of options for the gameplay as well. You got a lot of personality in terms of what demons you want to fuse, where you want to go, how you want to spend your time, and it really keeps pushing you forward and pushing you forward with a gripping narrative, with great characters, fun-loving environments, fun-loving times, but then also very serious things as well. Sometimes you forget that the game is rated mature, which it is. Persona 5 Royal should be on every single Nintendo Switch fan's list to play if you've not already played it on a different system. And even if you want to go back and try a harder difficulty, or play some different things, or try a different route, this is a great version to do it on the Nintendo Switch. So Persona 5 Royal, because of all of that, had to make it to number 4 on my list. Number 3, Astral Chain. Now we are into the top 3, and this was incredibly hard, Astral Chain is a game to me that is underrated at its 87 Metacritic. This should be a 90+ rated game, but I understand because the story isn't as strong as some of the other higher rated games on the platform. But I think that the gameplay and the innovation here is what makes Astral Chain so good, and the content as well. No DLC, no crazy patches, nothing like that. The game was pretty much complete day one. It's got built-in achievements that actually get you things that you want to have in the game and unlocks. It's got an incredible battle system that essentially works as a pseudo action RPG, to where sometimes you'll have a partner that can fight alongside you, but you have 5 different legions at your disposal that you can switch at any time. And even sometimes you can unleash a legion, let them do attacks, pull out another legion, fight with them, then also fight with yourself too. So you have 3 separate characters on the screen, or sometimes even more, battling it out. And it really kind of just changes it all into everything that Platinum Games does really well with their combat systems, with the innovation, with the combos, with the upgrades. It puts it all together in one game, but then also explores some different areas like the detective parts in the game and some of the motorcycle stuff, which they've had in previous games, but it's really well done, at least in that opening segment with Astral Chain. I love the graphics in here as well. The music is super sleek, and while the story isn't the best, it's not like it's a bad story by any means, and there's areas to where they can explore and really do another game in the series. So to me, Astral Chain absolutely deserves a top 5 spot and a top 3 spot as well, which it could have easily been the #1 game here, guys, but I have some other things on my mind. Number 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 plus Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, the expansion or DLC for the game, and honestly, the whole Xenoblade franchise. But I didn't want to include all the different Xenoblade games and take up a bunch of spots on this list here, but I would say the best experience for me at least was Xenoblade Chronicles 3 plus Future Redeemed, and that's why I'm focusing on that, because Future Redeemed, if you combine it with the Xenoblade games and also Xenosaga and Xenogears, and what they were able to do with Xenoblade 3 and Xenoblade Future Redeemed, they were able to seamlessly bind together decades-long spanning narratives all into one game and its DLC. And how they're able to tell that story, to me, is just shocking. I have like goosebumps right now, because anytime that I think about what Future Redeemed did and the combat in that game and how they really just evolved it and made it so well done for just a smaller expansion. The game isn't super long if you want to just go straight through it, but for a completionist, you're looking at 50-60 hours plus. So what they were able to squeeze out of probably a small development budget and time, and what they're able to do with Future Redeemed being the highest rated, or more like tied with the highest rated Xenoblade game, was incredible. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is no slouch either, being able to fight with any character at any point. You can switch characters between the 6 of them at any point, whether you're in battle or out of battle. You have a bunch of different classes and heroes to recruit, and it has by far the best side quests in any big JRPG that I've played in the past 10 to 20 years, and that's no cap on that. It is incredible. You are going to love the side quests in this game if you haven't played it. They really improved from Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, where there was just too many stupid things that you did in that game. Xenoblade 3 never feels too wasted. Most of the big side quests are so well done, and Future Redeemed just puts a bow on top of one of the best, if not the best, narrative that I've seen in a multi-part epic or saga that you can say, tying together so many games almost seamlessly. Yes, there's some spots here and there where fans can debate, but there's really been nothing else like this when it comes to what Nintendo does, or even in the industry. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 plus Future Redeemed, with the incredible music, which I can spend 5 minutes by itself or more on the music, but with the incredible music, with the incredible gameplay, with the upgrades and the updates and everything that they did with the narrative, it's gotta be easily a top 2, maybe even 1 spot on my list. But there's one more game that we have to talk about, and at number 1, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom plus Breath of the Wild. So the thing about this, guys, is that Breath of the Wild was always a top 2, top 3 game for me on the Nintendo Switch, but Tears of the Kingdom does pretty much everything better than Breath of the Wild. Now, there's some things that people don't like when it comes to the story or what they've done as a sequel or not. I completely get that. But from a pure gameplay standpoint, Tears of the Kingdom absolutely shreds Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild is still really good compared to a lot of other open world RPGs. The mechanics, the climbing in the open world, being able to really explore at your leisure is done like times 10 with all the different build mechanics and the sky and the underground. There's so many aspects and layers to Tears of the Kingdom in terms of gameplay. It's incredible. The stuff that people are doing in this game, we're going to be finding out secrets and crazy different clips on Twitter for years, if not decades. I remember Breath of the Wild had clips years and years and years after it launched, and that's how I feel about Tears of the Kingdom. And I think that the story was actually improved from what Breath of the Wild was. I think that they did the memories better, tying it into main stories to where how you have to go and go really above and then drop down. I think they did the combat better as well with what you can do with all the different mechanics that you have now with your Zonai arm and everything. There's so many great aspects with this game, and I think that the shrines absolutely destroy Breath of the Wild shrines. That's not even close either. The shrines are so much better. They're a bit easier to find. You can maneuver better in the air with mechanics and with different vehicles. I think that the side quests that they have in the game are just really good too. Much better than what Breath of the Wild had as well. Overall, though, as a package, you kind of have to put them both together, since Breath of the Wild is the first game and then Tears of the Kingdom is the second game. But Tears of the Kingdom is an incredible improvement upon it. And as I played through this game, I was so addicted to playing and going underground and the difficulty and things that they added. It really made me just say, this is my favorite experience on the Nintendo Switch. This is the Zelda game to me that adds the layer of freedom from the skies and the underground and also the surface level to the difficulty actually being a thing. Previous Zelda games, the difficulties was just too easy overall with annoying puzzles and not a lot of freedom in terms of where you can go. You have to go to this spot, to this spot, and this spot. Tears of the Kingdom gets rid of that, and it really just evolves the already incredible formula, and that's why this game is done so well. As of the time that I'm recording, it's probably sold around almost 20 million units plus. So Tears of the Kingdom is absolutely the top game on the Nintendo Switch for me, and the experience as a whole with Breath of the Wild. Now, this list was incredibly difficult to do, and I'm sure that there are games that I left off that you love, so let me know what games that I left off. Put your top 25 games in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to go through and read them. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate it. If you want to check out any of my other top 10 or top list videos, they'll be right here on screen for you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click the notification bell, and we will see you for the next one. Peace.